Four more suspects are due to appear in court soon. This is in connection with the murder of 18 people in Lusikisiki, that's in the Eastern Cape. The men were nabbed after police circulated their pictures yesterday. Three of the suspects were apprehended near Port Shepstone. This is in KwaZulu-Natal following a tip-off. The men are believed to be linked to a shooting at two homes late last month. Meanwhile, police are still searching for the firearm used during the commission of the crime. Newzroom Afrika's Newzroom reports.
Behind me is a local drinking spot which is said to have been the place where three of the suspects who have been linked to the Lusikisiki massacre were spotted yesterday by community members. They were apprehended in the early hours of this morning here in the Mkolombe informal settlement in Port Shepstone. Residents say that they suspect that they are not from here, even though most people who are in this informal settlement hail from the Eastern Cape. Here's what some community members had to say.
No, thina singumphakathi wale ndawo. Sizifila noba sizizwa at least kungconywana ngoba sebebanjwe kodwa asizifili sisafety kakhulu because asibazi bangaphe abalimaze kwenye indawo bazocasha kule ndawo yethu. Kangangoba uma ngakuba kuthiwa kuyenzeka angathi amaphoyisa angaphosa ihlo kakhulu kule ndawo ngoba vele iziganeko ezikanje nezenzeka khona la hlala khona ziningi.
Ndiyazibuza ukuthi ngabantu abanjani abangenawo kangaka unembeza okubulala abantu abaninzi kangaka nabantu besifazane. Sithi mabetholakele njengoba sekubonala babatholakele labo bantu mababothwe izikhiya ziphoswe ngale olwandle zihambe namanzi.
Siziva sinexhala kakhulu asiphephanga besingalindelanga baba ngafunyanwa apha sihleli khona. Babe besuka kude kangaka benze isibhicongo esibuhlungu kanje.
For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Newzroom in Port Shepstone.
Let's get reaction now on the latest arrests relating to the Lusikisiki matter, and we'll speak to David King, who lost a family member in that shooting 2 weeks ago. Mr. King, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. As an affected family, do these arrests make you feel a little bit better as a family that the authorities seem to be on top of the case?
Good evening, Loli, and your viewers. Thanks for having me. Loli, it is a bit of a relief to have the four suspects arrested. And it is clear that only that it may not be the only people that have been arrested that are implicated in this disastrous event. And another thing, Goli, is that I'm also worried because I don't hear anything in the news that say that they've been arrested with their firearms. So I'm just wondering as to, yes, they have been arrested, but where are the firearms, and can those firearms not be used again, maybe by people that have not yet been arrested? You know, that is really concerning. Yeah. I would have been much more relieved if they were arrested with their firearms, like the first suspect that was arrested.
Yeah, and you're absolutely correct, because the firearm that was allegedly used here is exactly the weapon that the police are still searching for. Let's talk about the comments from the police minister. He is quoted in the media today as having said in Parliament that it is concerning that this particular or these murders of 18 people, of which your sister was among the victims, was seemingly planned from inside prison. Are you aware of these comments from the minister? I know that he was among the officials that would have been in closed-door meetings with you as members of the families that are affected. Did you know, or do you have any knowledge of this information that this may have been planned from inside prison?
Yes, we were informed by senior police officials that there is a prisoner who's currently serving his sentence and who was being prepared for parole as well, who was found to be implicated in the plan of this evil deed. And apparently they have, according to what I gathered, was that the parole has been revoked, and he will continue serving his sentence to the fullest. And apparently he has also been removed from the prison that he was in to a more secured prison. But we have not yet been informed as to which prison is that.
Yeah. I take it then you would possibly know the identity of this prisoner, and what do we know of the possible motive? Because if he was one of the people planning this gruesome attack, what was it for? What was it in retaliation for or to?
At the moment, as families, we don't have the identity of the prisoner, and we have no idea as to what actually triggered this gruesome attack on and especially females, so many females. So that information we do not have as yet. We have just been told that this was a prisoner and who was being prepared for parole, and whose parole has been revoked, and he has been moved from that prison that he was in to another prison. Yeah.
And talking about parole, a parolee, and this is the first person to appear in court, the Mr. Miegete. The understanding is that he is a parolee. Does that concern you, that this is someone who should have been monitored closely as to his movements by the prison officials so that they know his exact whereabouts and what he possibly does on a day-to-day basis?
Look, actually, the whole parole thing in our country is concerning. Look, Toli, just in our community only, actually the Lusikisiki community, you would recall, maybe you would remember that in your news, that there was a parolee who attacked his family of 5 and killed them. I think it was with an axe. That was here in Lusikisiki. And then now this, now it is clear, and I think you'd also remember of a parolee in Port St. John's who cooked his nephew, who killed his nephew and cooked him. And then it was the granny, if not the mother, who found that out and saw that the child has been killed and cooked. So it is clear, Oli, that there is a problem with this parole. And I just really wonder, as to what tool is being used to ensure that the person who is being given, who's being granted the parole, is worthy of that parole, and he is not of any danger to society. So seemingly our government is more concerned about giving parole to prisoners and seeing them more fit to go and live with the same people, because most of these parolees that come back and murder our family members are people that have committed murder.
Yeah.
It's not a parolee who's stolen something from the shop or something like that, but these are murderers that are being given a parole to come and kill more of our people. And when my brother lost his child, Goli, it's so heartbreaking to see a man cry because of his loss of his loved one. And seemingly this is going to continue, because currently, Goli, we don't even know how many paroles are being prepared for people to be released in jail. Remember, you'd also have your presidential paroles, which we are not even educated as to how these paroles work. What is it that they look at? I'll give you an example. We've been invited as a family one time by the parole board here in Lusikisiki, where a friend stabbed my nephew about 67 holes and to death. And then we were invited now for the parole. And we asked the parole board who had invited us, what say do we have? Can we say that we reject that he gets the parole? And we were told as the family that no, whether we reject it or not, he's going to get the parole. The people that can only reject a parole but will not stop the parole is a community where he was previously living in. And then if the community is rejecting him, then the prison would have to find an alternative place where he can stay. So the community and the affected people really have little to say when it comes to the parole.
Mr. King, you've said a mouthful.
And you know, Polly.
Yeah.
Yes, just one last one, Polly.
Sure.
You know, I've just been recently informed that there's about 2 cases which I have evidence of, which I have case numbers of, where people have appeared again in court for other gruesome crimes who were on parole. So this parole thing is just not working in South Africa.
And it's the last point I want to conclude the conversation on, Mr. King, because the parole system, clearly there is something fundamentally wrong with it. And I want to ask you this question based on another case of a person who was on parole and who is now linked to a murder. And this is a murder of a child of a very, very well-known politician in the country, Mr. Gqeberha. He was the EFF Secretary General. His daughter was murdered in Mpumalanga, and one of the people who is alleged to have been involved in her murder is a person who was or should have been managed by the parole system, and now the family is suing. And so, as a family, is this something that you might contemplate, suing the Department of Correctional Services if indeed Mr. Miegete is found to have been responsible and among the guilty party responsible for the murder of your family member?
Look, Polly, with that, we would have, remember there's 18 people that have been killed here. And we would have to sit down as these families and double check if that is what the parents or the husbands, the spouses, and whoever of the deceased, if that is what they want. But as far as I'm concerned, that is the best route to go, because the only way our government will understand our pain is when something of that nature happens, because seemingly our government is more concerned about the prisoners' rights than the innocent citizens of South Africa's rights. So we would have to consult with the family and to see if that is the direction they want to take.
David King, I want to thank you very much for your time, and once again, heartfelt condolences to your family for the loss of your loved one in such a gruesome manner. This incident taking place 2 weeks ago. Thank you very much for your time, sir, this evening.